What is going on, guys? Getting everything set. Perfecto. Well, welcome. Thanks for everybody for coming back to the lair, even though it's not the actual lair. It's like my secondary lair. I appreciate everybody for coming back. As you all know, I am the Scranton Strangler. Now, every week we talk about America's favorite sport, football. It's college or the NFL. We discuss it all. So make sure to like, share, follow, and subscribe to my channel so you can stay on top of this year's season, really. Now, I know I don't have the script or anything, but I figured, you know what? I talk about my sponsor enough. I talk about I'm here enough. I usually do some of my shows in here when I'm running a little bit behind, so why not show you what everything looks like, right? There we go. So this is actually going to be the shot for metalhead threads. And this is the CNC plasma machine. As you can see, get this sheet metal, cut out some pretty badass designs that decorate your homes. Doesn't have to be horror related. As you can see, we got some cute little butterflies here. Right there. Anybody can tell what that shape is. Maximum Overdrive's Green Goblin. Like I said on my last podcast, we were at Spooky Spectacle 2019 last weekend. And they actually had the original cover for the actual truck, the 18-wheeler truck that they had in the movie. And it was pretty cool. So got to hang out with that guy. Also got to hang out with the guy who played Hellraiser, Paul Taylor. A bunch of other really cool people, but again, I should have podcasted that, but I unfortunately didn't get to. I was so busy. We were just so busy making money, right? So now, before I get into today's topic, I wanted to briefly kind of sum up last night's Thursday night matchup. My initial thought was Jacksonville's defense looked like it did back in 2017. It looked absolutely phenomenal. They had tremendous pressure on Marcus Mariota pretty much all night and into the night with 9 sacks. That's pretty amazing considering that they came into this game with 0 sacks on the season. They had played 2 games previous to this, and they goose-egged in the sack department. Well, Saxonville looked rejuvenated. They looked, jazzed up, and they got 9 in one game. Tennessee actually came into this game having 8, which was tied for second in the entire NFL. So the fact that Jacksonville gets 9 in one game kind of shows the testament of the level that they can play at, and I thought they just really impressed me a whole lot. They had pressure on Mariota, like I said, all night. Derrick Henry didn't have room to run, really, as you could tell. That was kind of Jacksonville's game plan going into it. Like I said in my keys to the victory for Jacksonville, if you missed that, go look at that video. They need to blitz a lot, and that's what they did, and that's how they had so much success, especially on third downs. Now, Marcus Mariota, he was just barely over 50% completion in completion percentage because they were just in his face all night. He had 0 touchdowns on the night. Excuse me. Derrick Henry, he had 17 carries, so he didn't have that 20 like I was talking about that they really needed him, and he only had 44 yards. Remember that stat that I threw out yesterday? In games that he has rushed over 50 yards, they're 20-2. So they've got to get that running game going if they want to break this two loss streak that they're going on. They also had their worst night on the year in penalties. They actually accumulated 9 penalties. For just over 100 yards. I think it was like 101 or 102 yards. That's the length of a football field. And if you're going to give a team pretty much an entire free drive, then, and only score 7 points, then, that's kind of where step 1 needs to be corrected is your discipline and then running the ball. So they just got manhandled, really. They couldn't, Now, credit to Jacksonville. It wasn't just that the Titans looked horrible, but Jacksonville's defense actually looked all around good. Like I said, in the rushing game and the passing game. Now Mariota threw for over 300 yards, but it was because he was down the entire time and trying to get his team back. They had. I really hope that they can fix whatever they need to fix with Ramsey, whatever they need to do to get him to stay, because they looked like they could compete with the best if they played at the level like they did last night. So I really hope that they can somehow get that fixed. My other game ball, if you will, that's going to go to Gardner Minshew, man. I think people take politics, kind of they take it, too much whenever it comes to evaluating players, teams, games, etc. Really, they think that just because they didn't play for a high well-known school, or that they didn't play for a college football playoff whenever they were in college. So they just kind of automatically think that they won't really make it in the NFL. I think that hopefully that perspective will change as you see, some of these and look at some of the quarterbacks that are already in the NFL, and you see that that's not always the case. You have Matt Ryan. He came from Boston College. You've got Lamar Jackson, a newbie. He's coming from Louisville, who he was the program. You look at him last year, the first year without him, they went 0-8 in conference. You've got Joe Flacco, who went to Delaware. You've got Fitzmagic, who played for Harvard. Clearly he's a brainiac, but he can definitely sling it, at least for a few games each season, right? You got Drew Brees continuing down that list. Drew Brees coming from Purdue. Big Ben coming from Miami, Ohio. So all of these are big names coming from those smaller schools. And now all eyes are on Minshew, a guy who bounces around. His collegiate career, he bounced around to 4 different schools after ending it at Washington State, and just leading the country in passing in that final year. So this guy's the real deal. To me, watching him play, stuff like that, he looks. He definitely looks better this year, but he looks like a Baker Mayfield out there. He's not the tallest quarterback, but he's got great accuracy. He can throw it down the field. He shows, he's shown that he's got touch. The first touchdown just shows you of that last night. Obviously they had a shortened field because of a muffed punt, but that just shows you that he can make a lot of different throws. The first touchdown, pretty much one of his first plays of the game, he threw a perfect little touch, 10-yard route. It was just over the linebacker that was all in his face, so he was under pressure. He threw a perfect pass right over him, and it landed, hit his receiver before he could run out of bounds, in the back of the end zone. You see that he can pin the needle down the sideline. He threw a 22-yard touchdown pass on the left, little flyer out on the left side, and it was money. So he can make a lot of these, big throws. You've heard Mike Leach, I'm sure, talk about his arm strength, how he's not he can't throw it like Mahomes or something like that. They don't need him to, he can make all those other throws extremely well. You saw it multiple times last night where he pinned the needle. I talked about that 22-yard touchdown pass on the left side. Right before that, on the right, he threw a dime, a flag route, a dime to D.D. Westbrook on the right side of the field. So he can make a lot of these throws that impress you. He doesn't look like a rookie quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback that was drafted in the 6th round. So I just want to, just give that guy some love. Gardner Minshew, man, he's awesome. I really think that, I wish he was on that team back in 2017, because that was a phenomenal team, and they were plagued by bad quarterback play in Blake Bortles. Obviously, that's no secret. That's why he's no longer, in a starting role on an NFL football team. So Gardner Minshew, they finally get it going. And I'm really excited to kind of see what he can do kind of going forward. I think that another thing that really impressed me was his movement in the pocket. He's got great movement. He's got great pocket awareness, and he shuffles along. And the thing that I like about it is that he keeps his eyes downfield that whole time. He's like I said, that's a trait that I like about Baker Mayfield. Back in college is what he did. He could absolutely hurt you with his legs, But he, unlike Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts, he always looked to throw. Didn't really necessarily want to run. He wasn't the biggest guy, or the fastest guy like Kyler was, and biggest guy like Jalen is now. So I like Minshew, man. He's awesome. He actually has now the highest completion percentage at 73.8 and passer rating at 110.6 by a rookie ever in their first 3 games. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to kind of continue to do. They travel to Denver next week, so a challenge against a very good pass rush. I will tell you, though, right now, I'm picking Jacksonville to win based on what I saw. Now, everything's subject to change. You definitely don't know because you don't even know if Jalen Ramsey is going to be on that team. And I think they kind of rallied behind him tonight and tried to show him what they could do. I think he fired them up, and they rallied right behind him. So you never know. From what I've heard, he's supposed to have been traded by Sunday. I'm hoping, though, that he stays. I really am, because I think that they can kind of turn over a new leaf. Maybe him and that VP of theirs, Tom Coughlin, can kind of get things under grasp between those two. So So that kind of finishes up last night. Awesome by the Jags. I was definitely wrong in my pick. I said 27-16, I think, right on the fly. And Jacksonville definitely proved me wrong. So I'm going to be picking them and kind of keeping an eye on that. Tennessee, you got some inconsistent play that you need to fix. So I'll remember that for next week. Now tonight, we actually have 2 games going on. 2 top 25 teams taking on an opponent. We've got, starting out, we're looking at number 10, Utah. They're actually going to be traveling to Southern California to take on the Trojans. Now, Trojans dropped out of the top 25 last week in a heartbreaking overtime loss to BYU. Now, Utah actually comes into the game favored by 3.5 with an over-under of 53. That's kind of a lot of points in my opinion, but they're looking to do something that actually hasn't been done in over a century. Utah is. Utah actually hasn't won in the Coliseum, which is the Trojan Stadium, in over 100 years. Last time they actually got a W in the Coliseum was in 1916. So some history might be being made tonight. But the Utes from Utah, they are led by the quarterback Tyler Huntley. He's had a phenomenal season. He hadn't had the best season. He's not a Heisman candidate by any means, I don't think. No offense to Tyler, but I think he's had a very solid season, and he's improved immensely from the previous years. He's had an issue with completing passes, with turning the ball over, things like that. As of right now, after 3 games, he's completed 78% of his passes. He's had 0 sacks and thrown 0 interceptions. So, backed by a ferocious defense, they're actually 17th in total defense, and they're actually 13th overall in the country versus the run. So, definitely a stout line, a front 7. And I think they're going to be able to get it done and seal a victory for their school tonight. Graham Harrell, he hopes that his air raid offense is kind of translating to the Trojans from, obviously he had his background from Texas Tech, things like that. But he's hoping that's going to kind of open things up for his quarterback. Now, last week, BYU actually stacked the box and really dared that quarterback to do something, and that's really what you got to do. Obviously, JT Daniels was the starting quarterback for the Trojans at the beginning of the year. He's no longer with them. He got injured. So then you bring in Slovis to beat them. So you stack the box, and they expect you to beat him with his arm. And unfortunately, that's what resulted in. That's what happens. You throw 3 interceptions, 2 right off the bat towards the beginning of the game, and then they get behind in points, behind the sticks. They go down 10-0. 10-0 was a direct result from those turnovers, and then he throws the very last one to end the game in overtime to give BYU the win. I believe it was 30-27, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what kind of look for Utah to do the same thing. They're very good on running defense. So they're gonna have that covered. Slovis is gonna have to beat them if he's gonna want to win this game. So expect that, but I'm actually taking Utah in this game. My prediction is I'm gonna say 24-20 Utah, and that means obviously I'm taking the under with the a 53-point over under. So gonna be doing that one. The next game, switch everything over, is actually gonna be Air Force. Good old Air Force traveling to Boise State to take on those Broncos. We're going to see that blue field tonight. Now, Bachheimer is really the leader on this team, and he's kind of the key, if you will. He's up there in passing yards. He's thrown over 900 yards. Let me get the number to be exact. 927 yards and 4 touchdowns. The only issue, he does have a tendency, his decision making. The interceptions that he throws, they're kind of bad. It's not that the defense made a great play. It's a decision making kind of thing. So hopefully he can sharpen up that tool that he has in his bag. But other than that, I think that he's a decent quarterback. He can sling it around the field. He has the weapons. It's just a matter of that defense. So the teams are actually pretty similar. When it comes to like points allowed in the game. Both are averaging about 15-16 yards on defense, or points on defense against them each year. But Air Force, believe it or not, actually averages more points on offense. I think it's around 39, and Boise State's around about 31 points a game. So excuse me. So we're gonna kind of look to see if BYU is going to take that next step and beat a team that's supposedly supposed to beat them, or statistically, and I say that BYU is actually favored by 8 points. So at home, I think I'm going to be taking Boise State. I'll take them actually, and I'll do 30. Oh, I had it written down. I'm sorry, 31-14 Boise State. So Broncos are going to roll tonight. They're going to go 4-0 on the season, and they're definitely a team that you can't really sleep on. Even if you get up on them, ask Florida State at the beginning of the year, they were up on them and let them come back on like an 18-point comeback. So you can't sleep on this team. You never can, even if they're don't want to break too many Oklahoma Sooners hearts, but 2007, that's all I got to bring up. So I'm taking Boise on this game, and I am taking them to cover 31-14. And let's see, the over and under on this game is going to be 53, another 53er. So cool. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that follow button. It's like right there, I think, the little heart, right there. Appreciate it. Share it as well. Let anybody who loves football, is a football lover like I am. I appreciate it. Share them, and next time, have them talk. Ask any questions. Give me an opinion. Let me know what I think. It's always fun whenever I have people conversing with me, and that gives me something to talk about, and I don't just have to talk about myself, right? So I appreciate everybody for watching. Again, I'm Scranton Strangler. Have fun tonight. 2 games on tomorrow, and then we get the big college football, which we have 2 huge games we'll talk about tomorrow, and then the rest games tomorrow morning. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. I love y'all. Scranton Strangler out.